a very good and a very hearty welcome, rather, from an incredibly cold Pretoria. It's a very big pleasure to have everybody with us, and we've been absolutely overwhelmed by the response and the interest that people have shown in this program that we are presenting this week. We're very fortunate to have an excellent partner with us in the form of Huawei that has been a great supporter of the work of the Digital Council Africa. I'm naturally very passionate about the conversation that we're about to have over the next week in the mornings. So we've put a lot of time and effort into thinking what is the best way in which we can attract as many people without, holding you back from your office work, and being respectful of the work that you still have to do, and keeping up, with your day-to-day tasks. And we felt that the best way to do it is to ask you for a little bit of time in the morning. So you've got a bit of time to get in, do a bit of email, and then jump into this and give us a couple of hours of your morning to participate in this conversation that we're going to have over the next couple of days. 5G is a topic that's on everybody's mind. Everybody wants to understand it more. People want to understand a lot about the conversation. Earlier this year, we saw some of the first research papers that's very South African focused come out on 5G. We know that the rest of Africa is also looking at ways in which they can leapfrog potentially some of the other Gs, and whether there's possibilities to just go to 5G immediately. It's a very important conversation. And of course, there's the technical side and the technical opportunities, but there's also 5G has got tremendous financial value to the South African economy and to the rest of Africa. And for us as an industry association, whenever we look at the telco sector, our core focus is on how do we enable this sector. But the next conversation that we always try and have is, how do we create jobs? How do we unlock the economic value that a certain technology has for Africa? And so it's a great pleasure for us this morning to introduce the team from Huawei to you. I want to thank them for giving up some of their time. Some of the greatest thought leaders from Huawei will be taking you through some of the content over the next week. And we're very fortunate that they are willing to give up their time to come and support this worthy cause. And as always, Marius, you know what, I've got to just start with you. Such an incredible thank you from our side. Huawei is always there. They always support our work. They always put their hands up. They're always willing to share their knowledge, and they always give us a little bit of their capacity. So without further ado, I'm cognizant of time, and I know we've got a lot of content to squeeze into just the 2 hours that we've got, 2.5 hours that we've got this morning. So Marius Engelbrecht, who's a senior strategy consultant with Huawei based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Great pleasure to have you here with us this morning. Thank you again for supporting us with this incredible initiative and this endeavor. And we look forward to sitting in and participating and learning with you as we go along.
Thank you very much, Juanita, for those kind words. It's a huge privilege for us to have this opportunity, and thank the DCA as well for allowing us this opportunity to engage with stakeholders across the industry and across the continent as well. It's immensely important in this day and age that we bring clarity and we bring understanding to the challenges that the new technology will bring, and as you've mentioned, the immense opportunities that these technologies are going to bring for us as a continent, for our people, uplifting the poor, enabling industries, verticals, creating job opportunities, allowing entrepreneurship, all of these wonderful things we look forward to sharing this week. And then for the sake of the audience, what I'm just going to quickly do is I'm going to share the program for the week and introduce then to everybody what we have in terms of, I take it you can see my screen.
We can.
We can. All right, great. So there's a number of courses that we've got every morning, 2-hour sessions, which we look forward to. We've invited fantastic experts, not only locally, but also internationally, that can share with us on the specific topics. We've got Dr. Bello Musa this morning that's going to present on the introduction of 5G and explain some of the differences in terms of applications, deployments, etc., and touch on some of the important aspects that we need in order to successfully deploy 5G as a technology. Dr. Musa is head of our innovation and IC strategies from our regional office. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk about the overview of 5G network principles. We're going to look at the differences between standalone, non-standalone environments. I will also touch on the challenges that we have in terms of the fake news and the stuff that is out there. Then on Wednesday, we've got Cesar from our Spain office. He is our head of Africa regulatory policy, our spectrum guru, so to speak. So he's going to look and tell us about the critical importance around spectrum availability. How do we need to apply it effectively to ensure that we get to where we ultimately want to be? And then on Thursday, I'm going to look at 5G application and services. I'm going to zoom in specifically around real world applications within those verticals. We're going to look at the many cases, not only from China, but from some other countries as well, where we've successfully deployed 5G as a technology and get some ideas rolling to see what the future holds. And I'm really expecting some good insights and questions during that session as well. And then on Friday, we will have Desiree Nivot. She is our Senior Manager Strategic Partnerships, also representing the Huawei region. And she's going to look specifically at the policy, the regulatory environment that allows the foundation for us to build on successfully then again in deploying these technologies. So that's the program for the week, and we look forward to see all of you join us for all of these sessions. We will make sure that we make the content available afterwards, and you're more than welcome then to contact that as well in this regard. But I think without further ado, again, thank you for making time available on this cold winter morning in the Highveld, and enjoy the session. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Bala Musa at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marius, and a very good morning to all the participants. I'm about to share my screen with you now. Yeah, hope everyone can see my screen at this point.
Yes, we can, Doctor.
Well, thank you very much, and very good morning again. My name is Bala Musa. I'm leading the innovation and ICT strategy. It's indeed a great honor and privilege for me to share with you some information and also have conversations around 5G. Well, I'm going to stop my video for a better presentation. Well, I entitled this presentation today as paving the road to 5G. What is the motivations around 5G, and what are the current 5G industry progress? As Yonita mentioned, 5G is a very exciting topic. Everyone is talking about it. One of the first questions I always have is, why do we need 5G to start with? What's the motivation around 5G? Well, 5G is the fifth generation of mobile technology. Of course, we had the 2G, the 3G, the 4G, and today we are having 5G. According to many reports, we having this new generation of technology every 10 years. So in the 90s, we had 2Gs, which were only focusing on voice, SMSs, then the 3G with some waves and of course emails and very low data transmission. Then the 4G came with a lot of data and videos. Now at the era of 5G, we will see tremendous application of this technology, and this would gradually lead us to what we call an all sensing, all connected, and all intelligent world. So why do we need 5G? To answer these questions, I have listed some of the common applications or services that today we are running on the 4G. So what out of these services, which one are supported or are not being supported by our current network? If we start with Facebook, can our current networks 4G, 3G, or 2G support Facebook? The answer is yes. 1.4 gigs of high definition virtual reality services. These cannot be supported by our current network. A common voice call, this is obvious, we can do that. Autonomous driving by using mobile network, we can do that now. Remote medical surgery, we cannot support this kind of services or application. TikTok or YouTube or any other social media, can we support that? Yes. Smart manufacturing, can smart manufacturing be supported by 4G networks? The answer is no. So from here, we can clearly understand that there are certain applications, new applications that are calling on network evolution from 4G or from 3G to a new network technology, which obviously is a 5G. So new services, and of course, a huge mobile traffic growth are the catalysts for 5G technology. According to a DCI report, we can see how the data, the traffic, mobile traffic annually will grow with a CAGR growth of almost 52%, which of course the current network cannot support it. So we need a new technology, a new network, which is 5G. Well, what are the characteristics of 5G? We have three main characteristics of 5G. The first one is the connections number, the number of connections that the network can support. The second very important element is the latency. And then the third, which is almost what we've seen and what we have discussed all the way for 5G, is the speed. So connections, latency, and speed are the three main characteristics of the 5G network. Now, how are these characteristics compare 5G characteristics compared to 3G, 4G, and 5G? If we take the number of connections, for instance, in the 3G era, one network cell can support hundreds of connections per cell. When came 4G, we were able to support thousands of connections per cell. Now just imagine in the 5G era, one cell will support 1 million of connections. So this connection would not only be things, but people and everything surrounding it. Hence, we're talking about the era of Internet of Everything, because 5G will give us this capability of supporting millions of connections per square meters. The second characteristic of 5G is the latency. Well, the latency or the round trip time between the source and the device in 3G era is 100 milliseconds. And in 5G era, this number was cut into half. It became 50 milliseconds. Now, how much latency is there in the 5G network is 1 millisecond. So you can see the difference from 100 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds to 1 millisecond. Of course, for those of you who have read the 3GPP standard and protocol, this 1 millisecond so far is just theoretically. The only practical latency that we have seen on the field is 3 milliseconds, and this is in the laboratory setting. So what does 100 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, and 1 millisecond represent in our daily life? I'll take simple examples of, let's say, an autonomous driving car on a mobile network. If we are driving this car on a 4G network, and then the car is called to stop in front of an obstacle. If this car is controlled by a 4G network, which means 50 milliseconds, After the pedal or the command of stop has been sent to the car will be able to roll for 1.4 meters before it reaches a standstill. This is what 50 milliseconds represent in the practical world. So if this car is rather controlled by a 5G network with the same stop command, the car would only roll for 2.8 centimeters. Yes, 2.8 centimeters. So here you see clearly the difference in the latency, 50 milliseconds and 1 millisecond latency. And you will agree with me that we will need this kind of latency in some mission critical application of services in our daily life, hence the need of a 5G low latency. Now the speed, this is something that all of us can relate it to. While 3G, 4G, 5G, these three networks have a complete different characteristic when it comes to speed or throughput. If I take an example of downloading 8 gig of high definition movies on the 3G network, this 8 gig will take 70 minutes. On the 4G network, this will take 7 minutes. And if the same content is being downloaded by a 5G network, only 6 seconds would be sufficient to download 8 gig of high definition movies. So just imagine how many type of scenarios this kind of high throughput can be applied. I can see the e-health, for example, where we have higher definition videos that will be uploaded or downloaded at the same time. So 5G will be the perfect network that can support this type of services, video surveillance or high definitions entertainment or high precision quality inspections in the smart manufacturing settings. So these are some of the characteristics of a 5G: connections, latency, and speed. And this is how 5G differed greatly from the previous technology. Now, what is 5G? What definition can we bring into 5G? Well, there have been so many different definitions, but the one that have been mostly greatly accepted all around the industry is that 5G is not only a technology, it's a platform. It's a platform for new applications, new services, new business model, and it's a platform that will definitely empower new type of industry and is an enabler of a disruption. So this is how 5G really differ from the 2G, the 3G, and 4G. The 2G, 3G, 4G were just a tool for communication, but 5G now is a platform. And in the following slide of the presentation, we will understand how 5G will be very, very different from the previous technology as being an enabler of a disruption. Well, let's take a look at the status of a 5G from the standardization point of view. Well, the 3GPP is the standard body that is homologuing the 5G or the mobile technology. Well, the 5G standardization started in 2018 with the release 15. So in the 5G jargon, we'll always hear what something like NSA, that is a non-standalone, and then SA, which means standalone network, will have an opportunity to deeply go in details what is non-standalone and what is a standalone network. So the first release of 5G is release 15, that was early 2018, years. And this particular release was focusing on a specific application of 5G, which is called enhanced mobile broadband, that I will explain again later. And this first release defined the non-standalone and standalone architecture, the channel coding, channel numerology, and also a very crucial technology for 5G, which is a massive MIMO. Then early 2019, we had the release 16, which was frozen in 2020, in June 2020. So this was the release with the flavor of a 5G, or the IMT 2020, with more services, more application definitions, and again, new technology like the industrial IoT, time-sensitive network applications. And after this, currently, works are being conducted on the release 17. So the release for 17 will be the full IMT. So this will be the real 5G with all the 3 different services and, of course, new additional technology. And this release is expected to be frozen by the end of 2022. So this is the standardization of a 5G. And for those of us who are following the progress of the mobile technology, we will understand that this has been the fastest standard development in the history of a mobile technology. So when you look at it, we have in less than 5 years, the standard is born and is getting mature. This also is explained by the amount of interest that 5G is carrying. Well, 5G is not only on standard. We have seen the first 5G network deployment as early as late 2018. So if you go back into the standardization milestone, this says the first 5G network were deployed right after the first release, the release 15. So today, as we're speaking, there are almost more than 140 5G live networks all around the world. And again, this time around, our continent, Africa, is not left behind. We have had four 5G commercial networks, and all of them in South Africa, and many trials all around the continent. So this shows the importance of the 5G networks in terms of adoption. And not only in terms of adoption, the subscribers numbers is increasing exponentially. As for last year, 4 quarters, there have been more than 200 million 5G subscribers all around the world. And according to GSA report, this number would reach 3.03 billion by 2025. This is huge. This is extremely unthinkable if we refer to the evolution of the 3G or 4G technology. It took around 10 years for 3G technology to reach this number of subscribers, and almost 5 years for 4G technology to reach the number of subscribers. And it only took around 1 year for 5G technology to reach this amount of subscribers. Of course, there are many explanations to this extreme exponential 5G adoption or acceptance. One of the great motivation or catalytics of a 5G adoption is, of course, you will all agree with me, is the device availability. When we compare the 5G device availability with the 4G and 3G, we see a very big difference. While the system on chips, the SoC chipset, for 4G, it took 4 years to develop the system on chips. And for 5G, it only took 1 year. And we've seen so many players in the market of the producers, the OEM of the 5G chipset. So this, of course, has played a very important role in the development of a 5G devices, 5G terminal. Now, talking about the 5G, the smartphone, it only took 1 year for 5G smartphone to be readily available in the market, but it took 3 years for 4G. This time span is measured from the standardization to the network launch, to the network deployment. So after the 4G standard was defined, it took 3 more years for the devices to be readily available. And so are also the devices for 3G. And to date, we have more than 283 5G type devices. So this includes cell phone, different type of sensor, the CPEs, you name it. And this had a great impact on the 5G device availability in terms of volume, and also most importantly in terms of affordability. So the chart here that you see on the left-hand side or right-hand side of your screen is the pricing comparison of 5G device, 5G phone. In the early 2019, a 5G phone was costing around $1,000. Then the price started decreasing to reach $150. So today in the market, maybe not here in Africa, but in the more developed market in Asia, you can find a 5G smartphone that will cost you less than $150 US dollars. So this is one of the explanation on the 5G subscriber growth and 5G adoption. Very important. Well, 5G, as we have seen so far, is it's a very exciting technology, very promising technology. But what's the cost of building a 5G network? Well, the spectrum is the core of each and every mobile technology, wireless technology. So 5G will not be an exception. When we talk about 5G, we'll be talking about increased network capacity in all terms, number of connectivity, latency, and the speed. We'll be talking about bandwidth. For bandwidth, for this capacity, we're going to need spectrums, and not only spectrum, but spectrum's efficiency. We're going to need wider spectrum bandwidth. We're going to come up with more sophisticated technology to increase the spectrum efficiency, and we have to come up with new methods, new ways of reusing our existing spectrums. And all of this means money, investments. We need more money to buy more spectrums. We need more resources for R&Ds to evolve into the new technology. And of course, we're going to need more investment again to increase our sites density by installing more new radio sites. So talking about spectrums, how much spectrums do we need for a 5G network? Well, looking at this chart on the screen, we can clearly understand 5G is high spectrums or intensive spectrum technology. Looking back at the 1G, 2G, 3G, the amount of spectrum bandwidth is limited, like compared to what 5G needs. 3Ks, 200Ks, then 5 megs for 3G, and 20 megahertz for 4G. But in the 5G era, we are going to need 100 megahertz. So all these characteristics that I have mentioned previously, high throughput, around 10 gig per second per BTS, lower latency, all this, if we don't have 100 megahertz of spectrum, we will not be able to have these characteristics, and the network will not be called a 5G network. So today, all around the world, operators are fighting to secure much higher spectrums, and this from different bands. As we say in the industry jargon, all the bands lead to 5G. could be C-band, 2.6, 2.3, up to millimeter waves. All these are potential candidates for 5G network deployments. Well, not only the spectrums, yes, spectrum is very important, but we need to come up with sophisticated technology to improve the spectrum's usage. And in the 5G era, one of the commonly used terms is MIMO, massive MIMO. MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output. This is the core technology for 5G. It's an antenna technology that pushes more data onto the network, and that also helps receiving more data over the devices. So you can see here in the 2G or 3G era, we have had the 8T8R, which means 8 transmitters and 8 receivers, MIMO antennas. And in the 5G era, we are looking at 6040 and 64R type of antenna. And this, through different breakthrough technology, the industry was able to implement even the higher orders MIMO. So don't worry about these formulas or these technical jargons. My colleagues or myself will have the opportunity to explain to you deeper during the course of the training. And of course, not only massive MIMO, we need to include a new radio technology, like a new type of modulation. And you can see from the milestone of the standardization, the evolution of the new technology implication or adoption into the 5G standard. So this is just the natural evolution of the different standard from release 15, release 16, and the release 17. And I believe before the end of the release 17, we'll again see new type of radio access technology, including the coding, the modulations that will impact the performance of the 5G network. And each and every application or services on the 5G network will call upon a new type of a technology. So the 5G is also research intensive technology. So researchers have to dedicate a lot of time into improving the 5G standard. Good. So this is all about 5G standard. So we'll talk about the standard evolution from release 15, release 16, and release 17. And each of these release correspond to a specific type of services or application. And with this also correspond a specific type of a technology that will be able to support the requirements of these new services and then new application. So the next point is the use cases. What can we do with the 5G? Or out of the 140 networks being deployed to date, what are they using 5G for? So this is the part that we will give some explanations on that. Well, the ITU has defined the different services of 5G. So we call this the ITU triangle of 5G services, which the enhanced mobile broadband EMBB. So this encompass the services like your ultra high definition videos, AR, augmented reality, virtual realities. These are the first categories of a 5G services. And looking back onto the standardization roadmap, this is also one of the first type of service that is supported by the 5G, the EMBB, with the release 15 on the non-standalone network The second category is the ultra reliable and low latency communication, in short, URLC. These are time-sensitive application or services, which will definitely need a time-sensitive network. So applications in industrial automation, latency-sensitive application, automatic driving or self-driving are part of this category. And then the third category is the massive machine type connectivities, things like smart city, smart household, and of course, as you may have thought of, we can have scenarios which call upon all of these three categories of applications, the EMBB, the URLC, and the massive machine type communication. If I take an application like a remote surgery, for example, we're going to need a high throughput data for uploading or downloading videos. We're going to need low latency connection for the robotic responses, and the massive machine type for a multitude of items that will be connected over the network. So this is the ITU vision of a 5G. So let's see how are these being implemented by phases, by stage. And this is a very important for those of us who understand the evolution of the 5G standard. The first 5G network flavors will not be able to support all these three types of services. It's going to happen gradually. And as I explained earlier on the standardization, there are new technology or new tools that have been updated on each and every standard to be able to support new services and new applications. So from the release 16 and the early release 16, release 15 and the early release 16, we have seen a lot of application in an enhanced mobile broadband. These also have been divided into different phases based on the speed and the latency. So because it says EMBB on this chart, we will not really look at the MMTC, the number of the connectivity. We are only focusing on the throughput and the latency. So the first phase, that was 2019 to 2020, we have seen application on FWA, fixed wireless services, with a relatively low downlink requirement, which is a 5 Mbps, and the downlink could be around 70 Mbps. And then you see the latency here is 40 milliseconds. Then we move with higher throughput, 100, then 120 with virtual realities, and a lower latency, but with the same throughput, and 25 milliseconds. And then with the high definition 360-degree live broadcasting, this was an innovation from Korean telecoms with the high definition 360 with a higher throughput 200 megahertz, and then advanced VR 500 megahertz. These are phase 2 of the application. And of course, on the phase 3, we can see a much higher throughut, 10 Gbps, which is the ultimate throughput for the 5G network. And then we are expecting to see application with latency sensitive or time sensitive application like smart robotic vehicle to X application that will require 5 milliseconds to 1 and 2 millisecond of latency. So the reason this chart is very important is a kind of guideline. For instance, here in South Africa, we have 5G network. So someone will say, how come I don't have, or I cannot support an advanced VR on my network, or I cannot support a high definition 360 degrees live on my network? So the reason being is maybe the operators here are still on the phase one of the deployment, and then they will improve it gradually. So this is also a kind of a roadmap for the services, the different services introduction onto the 5G network. So this chart is very, very important to for both understanding the impact of 5G services requirement with in relation to the network, to the 5G network maturity and network deployment. So the whole industry was very surprised through the adoption of the FWA worldwide. You know, when we talk in 5G, we never expected this huge adoption of FWA globally. We predicted that yes, FWA will be one of the applications, but not as such that almost all the operators around the world are accepting it and they are capitalizing on it. So here we see in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East, even here in Africa, this FWA has really been one of the first service adoption, and also the cash cow for different operators. For instance, in the British Telecom, the BT, they use it to improve the fixed wireless access. In France as well, in the Philippines, in the Middle East, we have seen Zen, who has also done that. And by 2025, according to GSA, there will be around 480 million FWA households. So why this agreement around the FWA? One of the simple answer is the cost of deployment. So when you look very closely into the deployment of a 5G as the replacement of a fixed access fiber. So that's the FWA stand for fixed wireless access. The deployment of 5G is at least 10 to 20 times lower compared to the deployment of a fiber. Hence, these operators took advantage on the 5G to improve the nationwide connectivity with, of course, higher speed, higher throughput, and much better user experience, and also value for money. So this chart just show you globally the FWA network presence globally, and with the networks that have reached millions of users. So this, like this chart on the left hand side, before 5G, this is how the fixed access looks like. So we have, of course, fibers, then coupled, then cable, then some coppers, but we can see a lot of areas remain uncovered. So with the FWA here, you see operators leverage on the advantage of the FWA, and now they can cover much more areas. And again, for our listener today, this is also an important fact of a 5G. We have talked about many applications of 5G: remote driving, remote surgery, autonomous driving. So, and then we say there is a 5G network, 4 networks in South Africa, and you may say, but I've never seen any autonomous driving car or a remote surgery application. So many operators in the world are using the first application of 5G, which is extended enhanced mobile broadband through FWA, and the map is here. Now, again, through the EMBB, the extended MBB application of 5G, we can also empower many other industry. You know, according to IHS and IDC, the 5G will bring values to many industry. First in manufacturing, in ICT itself, in retail. You know, retail is very obvious. It's very clear now with the amount of e-commerce or e-trading that is happening through the internet. So the hotel, utilities, mining, health, etc., etc. So 5G eMBB will also empower industry. We call it the B2B services for 5G. And here is also a call to the public to explore more application of 5G, because there is no one model fits all when it comes to 5G applications. Here in Huawei, we have a team who is working on the different applications or services scenarios for 5G in the different part of the world, because we don't know which application will suit better a specific industry or a specific demography or a specific scenario. So this shows the value of the different industries in the application of 5G. Like if I take transportation, for example, this would represent 122 billion opportunity, retail 29 billion, financial services 30 billion, healthcare 76 billion. And you see the different application like lease line, campus network, public safety. This is very, very common nowadays as 5G application, like video surveillance and others, 5G transport, 5G port, and 5G in the manufacturing. Now here, I just want to remind the audience that 5G itself is a connectivity. So this application will need the combinations of other technology, like cloud, like big data, artificial intelligence, in order to really benefit the different industry that we have mentioned here. And I believe my colleague will give you more detail and explanation in the following in the next sessions. While the large scale IoT is another important application of 5G. Here we see the case of share bicycles in China, where billions of bicycles are being shared and they are connected over the network. We have the smart city, the case of Shanghai, Singapore, where each and everything in the city is connected, from your refuse bins, parking, smoke detectors, you name it. Everything is connected. Smart meters, smart parking. These are some of the old applications of the IoT with the mobile. Well, now to differentiate the 3G, 4G, and 5G network application, we came up with this chart. So the 3G was mainly focusing on the consumer to see. Most of the application of 3G that we have seen is in the communications between people. When the 4G came, we were able to provide services to both consumers and to home users with some access to SMEs or homes. Now with the 5G, we will have a new sectors or new niche of application, which is called to be into different industry. So we say 5G is here to empower industry. So the 5G is the right application, right technology for the industry with the different requirements. Now, this is just an examples of a 5G low latency application in the self or autonomous driving car with a different delay that we have explained to you, and of course with efficiency improvement and more safety, improvement. So we have seen so many trials now going on around the world of the self-driving car. Well, the cloud AR and cloud VR is also one of the most adopted application of 5G currently. We have seen this application in gaming, in the education sectors, training, and also in medicine. Yes, in medicine. So we have seen this cloud VR, and also in tourism. Yeah, in the tourism sectors, we have seen this kind of applications of a 5G. The drone applications is also part of the EMBB. We have seen application in mining, security, agriculture, in the telecom itself. We use drones now to inspect our towers. In the utility sectors, they use drone to control, to inspect the power lines, and so on and so forth. So my colleague in the next course will show you exactly how this is being done, what are the different business models apply into these different scenarios. Good. Yes, connected vehicle. Yeah, we have seen also some trials and live services in Japan by example Platinum and V2X, which are being applied currently in many countries: Japan, USA, China also. So, as I've explained for the EMBB chart and milestone, the same applies with the 5G application in the industry. So this will also come with time, the application, the adoption based on the network maturity. You will hear a lot of a term called network slicing in the 5G. Mr. Marius will give a very ample explanation on what it is and why we need it. So based on the evolution of the network, we'll have the different type of services that will also come and anchor itself with the network evolution. So we see from 2020 to 2025, this is also a planning by the 3GPP. So there is no rush into the 5G services, adoption of 5G services implementation. This is just for reference. A very important aspect of 5G is the strategic position. From the beginning of a 5G implementation, we have seen how different nations are using 5G for the digital strategy. So this quadrant here, you can see some of the countries are using it to reach some economic objectives. Others are using it for some political objectives. Countries like Korea, Japan, the European Union have developed 5G to reach some of their economic objective, Industry 4.0s, whereas countries like China and the United States are really positioning 5G to reach some of the political objectives. So here in Africa, of course, you will all agree with me that we rather use our 5G capabilities or 5G advantage for our economic objective. We are powering the 4IR digital economy by means of a 5G. In China, for example, they are using 5G for the foundation of national transformation and innovations. Well, huge investment will go into the 5G, $48 trillion for intercity, high-speed train, ultra-high voltage power stations, but big data, industrial internet, artificial intelligence, 5G infrastructure. And these target these 7 areas, 7 industries: manufacturing, medicine, internet vehicle, port, education, grids, and live broadcasting. So this is again emphasize, the positioning of 5G as a national strategic tool. So I always say, I think in our countries or in our continent, we have to rethink of the positioning of a 5G. What do we need 5G for? Is it to only empower, the to C or to H, or we have to use it to join the revolution, the fourth industrial revolution bandwagon? If that's the case, then how are we going to do it? Have to call in the industry, academia, the government, the public sectors to sit down and to reflect on the position of the 5G in our nation. Here is a very good case in France, where they use 5G to uplift the national broadband deployment with the FWA to improve the connectivity in the rural area. And this with a great government support, a spectrum release, and a national broadband plan. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the content of today's first class, which is understanding of 5G background. Why do we need 5G? How far, what are the motivations behind 5G adoption? How far is the standardization of 5G, the 5G network deployment and adoption, and what can we do with 5G? What are the different use cases of 5G? And of course, some of the 5G requirements in terms of spectrums and in terms of 5G new technologies. So this is the end of my presentations. I believe we have a lot of questions or comment from the audience as well as from my colleagues online. So Juanita, I will give back the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Musa, thank you for that very insightful presentation and the content. We've got a question here from Botani Daniel, which says, good day. If I may ask, is 5G concerned only with IoT devices, and how does it regulate to cloud computing?
Thank you very much. Well, 5G does not only concern with the IoT. IoT is just one of the application. The 5G, the especially the IIoT, the industrial Internet of Things. And as I've mentioned somewhere into my presentation, in this part, the IoT application, 5G will provide both the connectivity, the platform connectivities to the IoT devices like your sensors and others, and the cloud computing coupled with artificial intelligence will play as like a brain of the whole systems. So you have the connectivities, and then you have a decision-making entity, which will be the cloud computing and the AI. And of course, we will, depending on the applications or scenarios, we'll also need a kind of usage interface. We don't know what that could be. If I take, for example, on a driverless car, a user interface would be the dashboard or the onboard computing of your car, or it could be something like your smartphone, where you need to input the command through that interface, and then the network will transmit that command into different devices, while of course through the AI or the cloud computing, who will think and then analyze, process, and then take decisions. So this will be the relationship between the devices, the connectivity, and the brain. We call it brain, the cloud computing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. Daniel, also I just want to encourage you to join the other sessions. I think ultimately at the end of the week, because there's quite a number of topics and segments that we'll be zooming into, And at the end of the week, I think you will have a much better understanding and clarity around the end-to-end environment and how everything interlinks and cooperates. As Dr. Musa has rightfully said, 5G is the platform, the foundation that will allow for so much more that the future will allow us. Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Dr. Musa. Then, Zahid, you've asked the question of whether the recordings will be shared. I'm sure it will be shared. If you've received an invitation via email from the DCA, I'm sure that it will be made available on that same platform that you did receive that invitation from. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to allow maybe a few seconds. If you have any other questions, please feel free. But I do want to encourage you to join us for the rest of the week, the same time slot. And there's really some exciting topics and insights that we're looking forward to share with all of you. And again, from Digital Council Africa side and from Huawei Technology Southern Africa region, we want to thank you for making it available. Dr. Kobus Liebenberg, yes, we will make the content available as well. The slides will also be made available to the DCA for distribution. And then thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at the forthcoming sessions. Have a wonderful day. Stay warm and stay safe. If you are in South Africa, it is a bit cold. We thank you very much for your time today. Thank you and bye-bye.